Mid-build setbacks.
They did the formula backwards.
Tedium.
Sanding, sand.
And ingenuity.
This industry is problem solving.
It's all worthwhile when you get to unleash 1,100 horses.
That was 170 decibels off that.
This is the path to performance, presented by Castrol Edge.
I'm Tyler Nelson, owner of Revision Rods and Rides in Rapid City, South Dakota. We were building the 1969 Plymouth Road Runner for the Barrett-Jackson Cup for the owners, Daryl and Faye.
The whole thing started with already having an all-original numbers matching the 69 Hemi Roadrunner. So when Mopar announced the Elephant engine, it just kind of clicked. We've got a Hemi, and now hopefully we have an ultimate Hemi.
Obviously in a smaller town that's just not a huge performance community around here, so it's definitely hard. It puts us at a disadvantage because we have to outsource all that type of stuff. Luckily, we had Bryant from Nomadic Dyno come out.
My name is Bryant Stillwell. I own Nomadic Dyno out of Rapid City, South Dakota. Tyler's an old friend of mine, and the amount of vehicles I get to see that I'll never be able to own is super cool. Like this car, way out of my league, but get to see it and play with it on the dyno.
Then I've known Joey for a lot of years. He's tuned a lot of cars for us. He's from Sioux Falls, which is across the state, which only takes 4.5 hours to drive across it. We're gonna be doing some full throttle pulls on the dyno here with the Elephant motor. We're just gonna see what this 1,000 horsepower engine puts out to the tires, which is just crazy to think that there's that much horsepower in it. So when we build all these fancy engine compartments, we do try and keep in mind that you have to be able to service them. Granted, you might have to pull a couple bolts here and there, which normally we like everything hidden. That's why on this particular engine bay, you don't really see a whole lot of fasteners or anything. While on the dyno doing the full throttle pulls, Castrol Edge is going to be helping protect the performance of the Elephant motor. So the reason why they put them on the dyno is just to be able to load the car to give it more of the feel when you're actually going to be out driving them. So what he'll be able to kind of focus on is just getting all the air to fuel ratios and all that stuff under the load. You'll see all the graphs and all that stuff.
I'm Isaac Gonzalez.
I'm Donnie Hall.
And we are the owners of Streamline Custom Designs in Tooele, Utah.
We are bringing two cars, a 1966 Corvette C2 Custom Convertible Roadster and a 1953 Chevy 3100 pickup to the Barrett-Jackson Cup.
The 1953 Chevy pickup, you know, the running gear, the engine, the interior, everything has just been perfected.
Roadster shop chassis, custom tuck bumpers front and rear, did a one-piece hood, Frenched headlights, and then I came up with my own 2-inch wider running board, and it fully extends from the front to the rear fenders. On an original truck, the running board stops. I think that's one thing that GM missed on that design is the running board just didn't meet the front fenders. On the Corvette, we actually do all the fiberglass work, all the resin, so we're sanding with like 80 grit. And then we smooth it out with 120 grit, and that's when we put our first layer of high build polyester primer. We do 4 coats of primer, and then we block sand everything. We start at 120 grit, and then 180 and 220, and then we'll polyester it again, 4 more coats, and then same process over. This time we're starting with 220. We're taping all of our lines off to make sure they're nice and crisp. We'll sand up to the tape, reverse the tape, sand up to the tape. Just makes everything nice and sharp. And we use a lot of the black dry guide coat. So we use that, and that shows us where our highs and lows are. If there's a dent there, that dent's gonna stay black. Everything around it's gonna be a nice gray surface. So that's where we know we need to put like either a skim coat or whatever we gotta do. And then we can sand it out, smooth it. And then right where we're at now is we're gonna prime it on the rotisserie and a surfacer, and then we're gonna sand it again with 500 grit, and then about 800. We'll put 4 coats of color on it, and then we'll come in, we'll put 6 coats of clear. So it's nice and thick, looks super deep, and then we give it time to cure. We'll bake it, get the panels up to 140 degrees, and then we're gonna go 600, we're gonna go 1,000 grit, we're gonna go 1,500 grit, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 5,000, and 8,000. From start to finish, we'll probably sand this car 25 times complete. Between fiberglass to final product. It's hours and hours and hours of seriously just sanding, sand.
being able to put the Roadrunner on that dyno. It's just easier for one, you're able to get the wide open throttle, because that's obviously hard to do out on the streets. And it being a non-production elephant motor, we just kind of wanted to make sure everything was going to work before we put the paint on it, because once the car's painted, the last thing you want to do is have to tear it apart. We've been around a lot of high horsepower stuff, but this elephant, it definitely was wild hearing it on there. You could feel it all through your whole body. I mean, the ground is literally shaking. That was 170 decibels out back, and that's through mufflers and resonators. A space shuttle taking off is 185 decibels, so the amount of like thunder almost that's coming from this car would be comparable to a space shuttle.
Oh God, it's screaming.
I mean, it's a car. It's just crazy.
I mean, it's trying to launch.
That's what we call a wide open pull. And this blue line is our torque, and then the horsepower is the red line. We just hit the mile-per-hour limit that the dyno set at, so then it just stops the run.
It kept breaking the tires loose as soon as he was starting to get up into boost and starting to get a lot of torque behind it, and hitting speeds of 180 on there, and it just couldn't keep up with what it was doing. And it was actually just spinning the tires on the dyno, so we actually weren't able to get a correct true number. I mean, the numbers it was putting down were impressive, but it still's not as impressive as what we feel that car is actually realistically about. It's definitely a bragging thing for a lot of people. When you can say it actually had 800 rear wheel horsepower, I mean, that's very impressive.
My name's Andy Leach, owner of Cal Automotive Creations in Bennington, Nebraska, and we're taking the '56 Thunderbird to the Barrett-Jackson Cup. My wife, Annalie, she's amazing. She's the brains of the operation.
300 cash or using a equity line?
I've been selling real estate for 17 years now, and I'm really good at marketing, strategizing, negotiating. And when Andy and I were engaged and I started going to client meals, I was able to help him tend to these clients.
She's a lot of fun.
She just points at it.
She likes to do these funny TikTok videos of the guys and kind of taking over my social media stuff. She keeps me in check because I'm just a guy that bends metal, man.
How's it coming along?
Next question.
This is the first interior we've done in-house, all door panels and everything else.
Well, just so it gets a little bit under that trim, that the trim will partially hold it down.
Tyler just came aboard, and we just found out he's a heck of an interior guy here a couple days ago.
It's got good enough gaps on the side so when we wrap the leather, it'll fill them in and it should be pretty good.
One of the biggest things in this whole industry is problem solving. A good example is all the diamond patterns on the interior, the door panels and stuff. Pressing the leather in there, he came up with the idea of making a stamp that had that diamond pattern in it.
These are the exact copy of the negative for this material, so you can actually get the glue all the way down in.
It's thinking ahead of what would make this easier. That's what's fun, is we're coming up with little things on the Thunderbird, and you got to problem solve it to get it done right then and now.
So it was nice being able to get the Roadrunner out on the road. You have 7 miles that way until you hit gravel. Let Daryl kind of drive it and enjoy it and just put it through the paces.
We're ready.
When Daryl got to sit in that car and go out and drive, I mean, with no windows or nothing, I mean, that adds a whole nother element to it.
We're out testing it, and of course you can't just idle along. You got to try it out. So give it a little bit of gas, and your eyelashes are just fluttering from the air coming at you. So it was quite an experience.
I think he was just shocked by the sheer power and the sheer torque that this car had.
Everybody knows Barrett-Jackson. If the name Daryl and Fay Lee comes up alongside Barrett-Jackson, you know, you wouldn't even be able to fathom that.
It's a monster. Mopar definitely knocked it out when they decided to come out with this elephant motor.
For a while, I forgot about all the bills I got from Tyler. So.
My name's Tony Army, owner of American Legends, Phoenix, Arizona, and we're bringing a 1966 Chevelle to the Barrett-Jackson Cup. So we just put this body on 2 or 3 days ago, and we had just painted it last week. So we were able to just raise the body off the cart it was painted on, slide the chassis underneath it, then lower the body back down on it, get everything aligned to make sure the holes were lined up, and then reposition the lift it all up, tighten everything down, and then here we are. It's a car now. And we've pretty much just started the color sanding and buffing process, which is why you'll see the dull areas, and that's just letting the paint breathe and cure quicker. So on the engine, the darker charcoal color, we sent all this stuff out to our powder coater, and when it came back, the first part I took out, like I looked at it, it's like, oh, that's a cool color, and I start putting it on, and then I start opening more and more stuff, and I'm like, this seems really dark, like really dark. So then I instantly went and compared it to the color that we were trying to match, and I called the powder coating shop, and he's like, there could be some variances sometimes. I'm like, there can't be this much variance, and we went round and round, and it was finally figured out that they did the formula backwards. I like 2-to-1, titanium to black. They mixed it 2-to-1, black to titanium. We can let it dry. They could do a better color comparison, but it's two different colors. And so it was a panic moment, and I contacted Dana. I kind of liked the color. It was a little more aggressive looking. The car's going to be aggressive, so we decided to go with it. This is a forged wheel, so the physical shape of the wheel is manufactured into it when they produce it, so it's really strong. And then they come in and machine out the openings. The back has a much deeper profile, so where this has a real flat, the back is concave. And that allows us to clear different brake packages, different suspension, and help with different offsets. And then we're gonna be doing some 3D scanning on the back of the car today because we have to 3D print all the taillights for this car. There's gonna be an LED light that sits in that back channel, and then there'll be a lens that runs through here. And then we're gonna put like a little rubber seal on the edge of it, so when the lens goes in, that's what'll hold it in place. So this piece could pop in, and then these pieces would pop in from the side.
Yeah, that would probably keep everything kind of snapped into place too. So these are dots that the scanner uses for tracking. The scanner is flashing a light on them from different directions, so it's measuring shadow distance, and that's how it creates that three-dimensional image.
They'll scan the whole back of this car, pick up all the points, and then we'll be able to design what we need from there. He'll email me a file, and I have to load it into a program that's designed for the 3D printer. Dana hasn't seen the Chevelle that we're taking to the Cup in color yet.
I've got a lot of work to do.
I've sent him a couple pictures, but they've all been black and white. It'll be interesting to see how he responds.
Shoo! There's a lot of different textures and tones going on. Tony! And to see it all together, like, I feel like the vision came true. This tells me what I need to know right here.
Yeah.
So Tony sent me a video, no caption whatsoever, and it's my car in the booth, the whole cab, the rear of the car, and it's sparkly purple. How is it gonna go to something I want from like purple? Like Easter, right? Like
it was.
Yeah, I think this is really badass. You need a better phone. Pictures don't do this justice in the slightest.
That's why I sent it to you in black and white.
Oh my God. I'm excited to see it all coming together, and a couple of weeks left. We're almost done. Got a lot of work to do here. You're stressing me out, man.